How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Drummer 101 Artist Interviews. My name is Ori Severett. Hope you guys had a good week. Hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl because I know I did. Today we are sitting down with Ryan Maples, who I've kind of known inadvertently through like the years because I've been at Skip so many times and I'd always seen you there, so that was kind of cool. I'm glad that you're finally on the show.
Thanks for having me, man, for sure.
Of course. So let's just jump right into it. I always ask everybody, how did you get into drums? What was like the beginning of your drummer career?
Well, growing up, my sister, she showed me a lot of music. When I was like in second and third grade, she shined me on to 311 and Deftones. And
isn't 311 coming out with a new album?
Yeah.
I'm so
on
excited
311
about that.
Day.
Okay, yeah, I'm so sorry. I had to make that plug really quick. I just thought about that. Anyways, go on.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
She showed me those bands, and I didn't even know if I was gonna, want to even play an instrument at the time.
Yeah.
But the more and more I kept on listening to, Chad Sexton just play and hearing his crack of his snare and just hearing the drums themselves, it was a draw to me, and it drew me more than guitar, bass, or singing or anything else. It was just like, man, I want to do that, So when it came to fifth grade, I went to the school music program, which is really good, which I think all schools should keep on still doing. And I played the snare for a little bit, and it wasn't until seventh grade that I actually got to play a kit.
Excuse me.
And I didn't even know how to do a rock beat.
Yeah.
They're like, do a rock beat. I'm like, what's that?
Yeah.
Like, I know how to do da-da-da-da and paradiddles and stuff. That's about it. So I did that, and it was on a nice high-end Yamaha with all K Zildjian cymbals, and I actually got to feel like, man, this is what it's like to play a high-end kit.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I was like, this is it. I stuck it for life. Like, this is what I want to do forever. Doesn't matter if I'm playing by myself with no one, as long as I can play, or with a band, that'd be great,
Yeah.
So I did that for a couple years, and then going into ninth grade, I had some buddies that would jam, but we would never make anything serious as a band. Like, I wanted to have a band, and I wanted to do the whole dream of being a rock star and all that.
Of course.
But it never really stuck, so I was like, okay, well, that's fine. I'm going to do the best I can at being a drummer, So I took lessons with Mike Johnston and a couple other people at Skips. But I did Stairway to Stardom in ninth grade, and that was a really good thing for me because it taught me how to play with musicians, how to write songs. I learned a lot, and I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is it.
And Stairway to Stardom is a really cool program because I did that as well. And we've talked about it on this show before, but it's kind of like, when you're starting out doing music lessons or not, just kind of when you're starting out in music, finding the right musicians who are going to be as dedicated as you is kind of hard. So the thing that I liked about Stairway to Stardom was it took all these dedicated musicians and just kind of stuck them together.
Yeah.
So that was probably my favorite part. On top of actually, side note, another band during the same year that I was doing Stairway to Stardom had a bass player. Her name's Emma Simpson, and then our coach of Stairway to Stardom, Taylor Wong. That was like the first band I was ever in, and we were called Exhale. Long story short, so I liked that whole program because that was kind of like this is what it's like to be in a band. How about trying out a real band? So that was kind of cool that I got the opportunity.
Everyone had the same mind aspect. Like we are doing this instead
exactly.
of Saturday we'll come to the garage and we'll do whatever. Yeah. So I did that for 2 years, and the first band I did that I'm not proud of the name, but it was called Soul Pop Symphony, and because I went into it, I was like, oh yeah, man, I'm gonna play like Chad. I'm gonna do this, and I got into the program, and they're all really good musicians, but they were more pop oriented. So I was like, what can I do? So I still approached it with kind of playing like the 311, Deftones kind of sound, but it came out really good. And my coach, Greg, was actually my drum teacher at the time, so he helped me out. It's like, well, this is how you want to approach a song. This is how you want to play, and don't do too much, but play for the beat, play to the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So that helped me out a lot to learn. And then going through high school, I just still jammed with a couple buddies. I did like the DJ drummer thing too.
Yeah.
Go to house parties and play and do whatever. But still trying to find that band, that I wanted to be in, that we're all dedicated and we're all doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Then after high school, I went to go become a car mechanic, to do the real job or whatever,
Yeah.
like, you gotta do what you gotta do. But then that fell through and the company went bankrupt, so I didn't have a job, and I was like, well, now's my time. I grew up at Skips. I've always wanted to work there. Let's try it out while I have the time to do this, you know? Yeah. So I did that in about 2009, and I learned a lot, and I met a lot of people that were, actually wanting to play and asking me, man, you sound good. Let's do something. So that felt good. I was in a couple different bands, couple different cover bands, Johnny Cash cover band, and a regular cover band. I played all pop rock hits from 70s to present. But and I learned a lot from that too. Learning how to play with the click, learning how to play with sequence tracks, and playing exactly like what has been played on the original record.
And that's hard to do. That's hard to do.
Oh yeah, man.
I've been playing drums for almost 9 years now, but kind of sitting down and doing exactly what they're doing, because a lot of people try to cover a song and they'll be Kevin actually Prince. If you go check out Drummer 101's YouTube, is like insane at drum covers, but people typically will just try to somewhat match it, but playing it exactly how the original drummer did it and making it sound perfect and kind of your own, but just right on the spot, that's hard to do. So I mean,
oh yeah,
so I have a lot of respect for cover bands. I mean, I think it's insane, and
it's also fun, when I used to play a Berlin song, and they had a clap sound. It's like, okay, well, how can I do that acoustically? So I would bring a side snare, put the splash on there, and make it sound like a clap.
Oh, that's cool.
Just try to emulate it, the most I can without having electronics or anything, you know, which I'm still trying to get. But yeah, I mean, it taught me a lot, and so while I was doing that, I still wanted to find an original band, that was the same kind of sound that I wanted to have. And we're all on the same page. So while going into House of Hits, where I was just jamming at the time with the cover band, I was walking down the hall and this dude turned around and said, "Hey, do you play drums?" And it was just by chance I was like, yeah, I do. What's up? What do you need? And he's like, well, my band, Missamore, we need a drummer. Our last drummer just left a couple months ago, and we need someone that's got the same kind of stuff. And I was like, well, let me hear what you got,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be screaming ah, or just something was what I was looking for. And listening to the tracks, I was like, yeah, I dig this, Yeah. And then I was like, let me just meet you guys. Let's just jam. Let's just see what happens, So I brought my drums in and met all the members of the band and got along with them really well. And I was like, okay, what do you like? And well, we like Deftones. I was like, well, there we go.
All right, I'm in.
Yeah. So just jamming with them, we had a really good vibe and a really good flow, and they felt what I was doing and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And so after that, they were like, we can already tell that you're already in. You have what we need. So I was like, cool, my first attempt, to do this.
Yeah.
And I've been in the band for about 3 years.
You guys rock. I remember because I was checking it out when you were coming on the show. I was checking out to see the band you were in and stuff and what you guys sounded like, and I really liked it. I mean, it sounds really Deftones, that kind of a Perfect Circle sort of deal. So that was kind of cool, and I like Missamore a lot. We'll show you guys them at the end of the clip, but. Go on, sorry.
Oh, it's all good, and I appreciate that too.
Yeah.
But it was weird because the EP that they had, which Tom Frost did in the studio, recorded, because they didn't have a drummer, but they still wanted to push and move on. We needed to do an album just to keep this thing going without a drummer. So they asked Tom to do the tracks in the studio. So I heard it, and Tom Frost has got killer double bass chops.
Oh, really?
But at the time, I grew up playing Chad Sexton 311 single kick, my whole time. And actually, a couple months right before I met them, I bought my first double pedal. I was like, oh man, I want to try this. It's fun. It sounds fun. I want to see what I can do with it. So I bought it. So I was just now learning, but on the tracks he was doing, it was really fast double kick, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. So I'll fake something, do it with toms or whatever. So I came in and I told them, I said my favorite thing is 311. So I came out with a lot of 311 60-note beats.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, can you play metal? Like, because they were trying to do the metal thing. And I said, well, I mean, I'll get there, you know, practice my butt off, and see what I can do with it.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool coming in and playing with the background that I had, and they had metal background.
Yeah.
So it kind of fused to make this one sound. And on the preset Numb song that we did recently, or about a year ago, you'll hear that kind of, it's like a hybrid, of kind of that drumming of like Chad Sexton, and then coming in with some metal stuff. But I grew up a lot in the past couple of years because now I love metal. I love the gent stuff. I listen to Periphery, Animals as Leaders. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
But I still love the 311 and the groove and the pocket and the beats and all that.
And I like that you do that kind of thing when you mix like the 311 with sort of like the more like metal, like Deftones sort of stuff. We've talked about on the show before because a few episodes back I was talking about how when I started out it was more like jazz roots, and then I got into the kind of rock, and it was cool to kind of like take some from different take different patterns, take different fills, take different whatever. From different genres and kind of pull them into a genre that it wouldn't necessarily be found in, because it gives it your own sound, because I mean,
totally.
And I've listened to Preset Numb, which we're going to show at the end of the clip, and I know what you're talking about, because it's kind of like, you can see that you have chops other than just being like a metal drummer who does blast beats like all the time,
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool.
Well, and for me, it's really hard to, because there's so much music out there, it's being thrown in everyone's faces, and you're always like, well, I want to stand out. Let's do the craziest beat or the craziest fill, and so people will notice me or whatever. But people always tell you it's all about the pocket, and playing for the song. And with Miss Amore, I've learned a lot of, there's always that line of like, okay, do I want to go really crazy right here with this beat, or should it be held back here? Should I do a really crazy fill or simple? What would sound the best?
Yeah.
So that's always a challenge for me as a drummer, is just trying to find that in between. So and every song like we do with Miss Amore, like Preset had a couple interesting stuff in it, and also but the most simplest stuff, just open it up, make it, and then come right back into it, has more of an impact than just going completely crazy.
And that's that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's kind of it's and another thing we've talked about is kind of the signs of a well-rounded drummer, someone who knows kind of not necessarily his place or her place, but it's kind of like doing what's exactly right for what the rest of the band is playing at that time. Because young drummers, they'll try to do those fills all the time. But it's cool that you have that thought. You're like, should I do a fill or should I just be more simple? Typically people are just like, I'm not gonna fill because I'm a drummer and I rock, that type of thing. But cool, man. All right, well. That about wraps it up here. Stick around. We're going to show you Preset Numb. We've been talking about it a little bit. And check out Miss Amore. We'll have a link in the description to their Facebook and YouTube and stuff like that. So you can kind of get to know Ryan a little bit better, get to know Miss Amore a little bit better. Dude, I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for watching.